What if the Bible contained clues to a technology that eludes us? In an impressive vision, the prophet Ezekiel describes a chariot of fire descending from the heavens, with spinning wheels, intense lights, and mysterious beings. But what exactly was this chariot? Was it merely a spiritual symbol or evidence of ancient technology? Today, we're going to delve into this enigma that continues to intrigue scholars, theorists, and explorers of the past, the mystery of Ezekiel's chariot of fire and its possible interpretations. The prophet Ezekiel lived during one of the most turbulent periods in Israel's history, around the 6th century BCE, when the Hebrew people were conquered and exiled to Babylon. He was a priest who, like many of his time, saw Jerusalem destroyed and the temple plundered, events that deeply marked the faith and identity of the Israelites. During this period of captivity, Ezekiel began to have powerful and enigmatic visions, which he recorded in the book that bears his name. His visions included messages of judgment and destruction, but also promises of restoration. However, perhaps the most impactful of all is the chariot of fire, a vision shrouded in mysteries that defies understanding to this day. The vision of the chariot of fire appears right in the first chapter of Ezekiel and is described with a wealth of details that draws attention. The prophet reports that, at a certain moment, he saw a great storm coming from the north, with lightning, fire, and a light as bright as polished metal. This phenomenon, in itself, is already intriguing. The combination of fire, intense light, and sound could be interpreted in various ways, even as something that refers to modern technologies like engines or machinery that emit light and sound. At that time, for Ezekiel, this experience was something entirely out of the ordinary, something he could only interpret as a manifestation of divine power. As the vision progresses, Ezekiel describes specific details of this chariot. He mentions something that resembles wheels filled with eyes, which move independently and seem to have a life of their own. These wheels, with eyes that could represent lights or symbols, are described meticulously, as if the prophet were trying to convey precisely what he was seeing, even if it was something beyond his understanding. He also mentions a structure that resembles a platform or base upon which the throne of God rests, as if it were a mobile construction. This part of the account arouses curiosity because it combines visual elements that can be understood both as mechanisms and as control systems. Besides the wheels, Ezekiel describes the presence of 4 living creatures that support the structure, each with the faces of a man, lion, ox, and eagle. These beings have wings and move in perfect harmony, as if they were part of a living machine. For ancient cultures, these beings could symbolize cosmic forces, representing elements or divine creations. However, this description also suggests the possibility that they are mythological figures or machines disguised in symbolic language. Ezekiel, limited by the cultural context of his time, interpreted these elements with the spiritual references he possessed, but the wealth of details continues to spark varied interpretations. Ezekiel's historical and cultural context is crucial to understanding the impact of his vision. Ancient civilizations like the Babylonian and Egyptian already had stories about celestial beings and divine vehicles descending from the heavens, and Ezekiel lived under the influence of these cultures. Representations of chariots and celestial vehicles were not unknown, but Ezekiel's account stands out for the precision and details of the phenomenon, leading many scholars to wonder if he could be describing something he witnessed with his own eyes. This closeness to other regional mythologies only strengthens the mystery. Did Ezekiel witness a spiritual manifestation or interpret something concrete with the cultural and religious tools of his time? With this context in mind, Ezekiel's vision of the chariot of fire opens doors to numerous interpretations. Whether viewed as a spiritual account or as an enigma that refers to something beyond human understanding, Ezekiel's vision challenges imagination and rationality. Understanding what he experienced is like trying to unravel a coded message in the pages of the Bible, a message that may contain traces of technology or knowledge that ancient civilizations possessed but was interpreted according to the worldview of that time. Now that we know the context of his vision, let's explore the chariot of fire itself and the surprising details it brings. Ezekiel's vision of the chariot of fire is one of the most detailed and intriguing passages in the Bible, described with such clarity that it still fascinates scholars, theologians, and scientists. Ezekiel portrays this structure as a chariot descending from the sky enveloped in a storm of fire and intense light, accompanied by thunder and lightning. The presence of a bright light, similar to the glow of metal, suggests something mechanized or even technological different from traditional divine manifestations. This chariot of fire is not merely a poetic figure but something that Ezekiel tries to observe and describe accurately, which adds a concrete character to the vision. Among the most intriguing features are the vehicle's wheels. Ezekiel mentions that the wheels not only accompany the movement of the chariot but have eyes, which could be understood as lights or points with a watchful appearance. Moreover, the wheels have the ability to move in various directions without needing to turn, something that today reminds us of advanced technologies, such as vehicles or drones capable of independent movement. This synchronization of the wheels with the living creatures that accompany them suggests a complex mechanism where each part of the vehicle seems connected in a single coordinated machine. These beings, described as cherubim, are another fascinating part of the vision. Each has 4 faces: that of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle, and wings that allow them to move quickly. Representations with multiple faces are rare even in biblical literature, suggesting that Ezekiel was seeing something that went beyond the common imagination of his time. These faces may have symbolized specific qualities or powers, but the idea of multiple faces also reminds us of a multifunctional figure, as if the cherubim had a practical function within this celestial system. This vision has led some theorists to consider that the cherubim could actually be intelligent mechanisms, a kind of living machines with a specific purpose. What intrigues most is the interaction between the chariot and the cherubim. Ezekiel describes that these beings and the vehicle function in perfect harmony, as if they were interconnected components of a single structure. The platform where the throne of God rests seems to be supported by the cherubim, who propel the vehicle with their synchronized movements. To modern eyes, this image could evoke an advanced machine with complex engineering. For Ezekiel, who did not know similar technologies, this vision was described based on his spiritual reality, but the level of detail makes us wonder if he was witnessing something concrete and real. Another relevant aspect is the presence of a metallic shine throughout the vision, as if the chariot were made of a material uncommon at the time. Ezekiel describes the shine as like gleaming metal, which only increases speculations. This choice of words suggests that he was in front of a reflective or metallic surface, materials that only became popular in constructions much later. This shine, combined with the autonomous movement of the wheels and the cherubim, reinforces the impression that the prophet was seeing something that defied his spiritual and cultural understanding. The detailed description of the chariot of fire leaves a persistent question: was Ezekiel merely seeing a spiritual vision, or was he trying to describe an unusual structure that we still cannot fully understand today? The detailed description of Ezekiel's chariot of fire raises many questions about its true nature. Some consider that he saw only a symbolic and spiritual vision, while others believe he was in front of a unique structure or mechanism. Ezekiel seems to have tried to record every detail of what he saw, even if it was something tangible beyond his understanding. In the next point, we'll explore modern interpretations of this vision, which range from theories about celestial manifestations to possibilities of ancient or even extraterrestrial technology. Over the centuries, Ezekiel's vision of the Chariot of Fire has inspired a variety of interpretations, ranging from theological explanations to bolder theories. With the advancement of science and archaeology, many theorists began to explore the possibility that this vision is not a spiritual symbol but a reference to something concrete, possibly technological. The meticulous detailing that Ezekiel offers suggests a mechanized structure or, for some, a technology so advanced that it eluded the understanding of the time. This idea aligns with the ancient astronauts theory, popularized by authors like Erich von Däniken, who proposed that ancient civilizations may have witnessed visits from extraterrestrial beings. According to this theory, Ezekiel would have described something akin to a spacecraft, but did so within the cultural and spiritual context of his time, using terms his contemporaries could understand. The presence of wheel within wheel and bright lights could, according to this line of thought, be an attempt to describe an advanced technology vehicle, possibly an alien spacecraft. For proponents of this hypothesis, the Chariot of Fire would be a record of a contact experience that Ezekiel interpreted as a divine revelation, but that might indeed have been an unusual technological structure. Another interpretation is that Ezekiel's Chariot of Fire represents a celestial visitation within the context of Judeo-Christian theology, but with special symbolism. According to some theologians, the vision reflects how Ezekiel understood the glory of God manifested palpably and visibly. The cherubim, the wheels, and the intense brightness would be symbolic aspects of divinity and supreme power, impressively manifested to emphasize God's holiness and authority over Israel. In this sense, the Chariot of Fire is seen as a vehicle of divine glory, without any link to advanced technology, but intended to represent supernatural power. The ancient astronauts theory, however, continues to have appeal due to the boldness it presents and the questions it raises. The possibility that Ezekiel witnessed an incomprehensible technology challenges the purely religious interpretation of the vision. Theorists like von Däniken argue that in various parts of the ancient world, there are similar accounts of such celestial vehicles or divine manifestations, suggesting that different civilizations could have experienced similar phenomena. For proponents of this view, Ezekiel's description of the Chariot of Fire could be a clue that beings from another origin had contact with humanity, influencing narratives and religions of ancient cultures. Beyond these interpretations, some scholars see Ezekiel's vision as a metaphor for ancestral knowledge that may have been transmitted by advanced civilizations and lost over the centuries. In this perspective, the symbols such as the wheels with eyes and the cherubim could represent advanced technical or scientific knowledge, interpreted by Ezekiel as a spiritual revelation. According to this theory, the prophet accessed this knowledge metaphorically, but due to its complexity, it could conceal ideas about physics or engineering still beyond our reach today. These modern interpretations, whether from the perspective of a spiritual phenomenon or a technological visitation, show how rich and multifaceted Ezekiel's vision is. It opens possibilities that go beyond faith, involving science, anthropology, and the history of civilizations. The idea that the Bible may contain references to something beyond our understanding reinforces the attraction to the mysteries of the past and the enigmas it may hide. Now, let's explore the idea of ancestral technology and how it may relate to other similar stories, revealing a dimension we may never have imagined. The idea that ancient civilizations witnessed or possessed some kind of advanced technology has fascinated scholars and theorists over the centuries. Ezekiel's vision of the chariot of fire is just one among several biblical descriptions that seem to contain mysterious technological elements. Many legends and stories from antiquity mention vehicles and machines that, instead of seeming mythical, suggest lost knowledge or interactions with a technologically superior culture. In Ezekiel's context, the chariot of fire draws attention due to the level of detail, leading to speculations about whether he could be seeing something that, to modern eyes, would refer to a technological apparatus. The description of wheels that move independently and cherubim that support the structure can evoke the image of a mechanized and very advanced vehicle. The eyes on the wheels, which can be interpreted as lights or sensors, combined with the ability of autonomous movement, reinforce this hypothesis. Advocates of the ancestral technology theory argue that civilizations like Ezekiel's may have had contact with artifacts or vehicles that were not part of their cultural development but that they interpreted as divine manifestations, recording the event in spiritual terms. Ezekiel's account is not the only example of mystical or divine vehicles. Ancient cultures like India, Egypt, and Greece also have stories of chariots and flying machines associated with divine beings. In Indian tradition, for example, the Vimanas are described as aircraft capable of flying in the skies and even crossing space. Like Ezekiel's chariot of fire, the Vimana seems to be out-of-context technology, described with such detail that many believe something concrete could be behind these stories. This connection between different cultures suggests that certain ancient civilizations may have witnessed or received information about technologies they recorded as celestial vehicles. Ezekiel's vision fits well into this tradition of stories about divine or advanced vehicles. The idea that he witnessed ancestral technology suggests that instead of creating this description from imagination or metaphors, Ezekiel may have tried to describe something concrete and direct. The richness of details with mentions of wheels, beings, and coordinated movements approaches more of an attempt to describe something real, although unusual. This opens up the possibility that Ezekiel and other ancient figures witnessed phenomena or artifacts they interpreted as sacred, but that could be of a material nature. Another interesting point is the hypothesis that this knowledge was lost over time. Some theorists believe that ancient civilizations may have received technical knowledge directly or indirectly, but that over the centuries and cultural changes, this knowledge was lost. Over time, stories like Ezekiel's and other celestial vehicles were interpreted as spiritual allegories. The modern interest in ancestral technology, however, invites a rereading of these accounts. Could these prophets and ancient figures be describing something they understood as sacred but that perhaps was technology out of the ordinary? The hypothesis of ancestral technology challenges our understanding of human history and our own origins. Ezekiel's vision thus becomes more than a simple biblical narrative. It represents a window into a past that may contain knowledge that has been lost. Now, let's reflect on the impact of this type of theory today and how it affects our perception of important themes like religion, science, and the history of civilizations. Today, Ezekiel's vision and the idea of ancestral technology cause fascination and controversy. The advancement of research on ancient civilizations and the growing interest in theories that mix science and religion have brought the chariot of fire as a symbol of debates about the limits of human knowledge. If Ezekiel's account indeed suggests technology beyond his time, it questions how we interpret both the Bible and the evolution of knowledge. This reflection shows that there may be secrets about the past still waiting to be unraveled. This growing interest in theories about ancestral technology and ancient astronauts leads more people to explore the Bible and other texts in a new way. Documentaries, books, and articles discuss the possibility that the ancients witnessed something extraordinary, interpreting it with the knowledge of the time. This approach raises an interesting question: to what extent can religious texts be read as historical accounts? Rereading Ezekiel's vision encourages the search for an understanding that goes beyond faith and science, as if both fields could complement each other and broaden our view of the past. Another aspect of the current impact of these interpretations is the questioning of what we really know about human history. The idea that there was contact with technologically superior civilizations challenges our notion of historical linearity. This leads us to reflect on what else might be hidden or lost in myths and ancient accounts. In the case of Ezekiel's vision, the fact that so many cultures have descriptions of celestial vehicles raises the possibility of a common heritage, a collective memory that goes back to very ancient times. For some, this enriches the scriptures; for others, it opens doors to theories that challenge organized religion. It is worth remembering that this approach also generates controversies, especially in the field of theology. Some religious scholars argue that Ezekiel's vision is purely spiritual and that interpretations associating it with literal technology divert from the true meaning of the text. For these theologians, the chariot represents divine glory and God's absolute power, without the need for a link to technology. According to this view, insisting on a literal reading harms the spiritual message of the vision, which speaks about divine presence and power, regardless of its physical form. But despite the divergences, the mystery of Ezekiel's chariot of fire continues to fascinate and inspire reflections on themes ranging from the spiritual to the technological. This narrative leads each reader or viewer to ask themselves, was Ezekiel describing something spiritual, or did he witness something that escapes our understanding? Perhaps we will never know the definitive answer, but the current impact of this mystery lies precisely in its ability to challenge us to explore new possibilities. So, what do you think of this enigma? Did Ezekiel really witness ancestral technology, or was his vision just a symbolic expression of divine glory? What we know is that the vision of the chariot of fire continues to challenge our understanding and inspires us to look at the past with more curiosity and an investigative eye. Exploring these mysteries is a way to expand our perceptions of what is possible, mixing faith, science, and history in search of answers. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and leave your like. This way, you help us continue exploring these intriguing themes. And, of course, we want to know your opinion. Do you think Ezekiel's chariot of fire was technology beyond his time? Leave your comment below. And if you're interested in more biblical mysteries, check out our video on fulfilled biblical prophecies to discover other fascinating stories from the scriptures.